So we all know Bluey, but what about if the art style was more like this? Or even this? So what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a little warm-up sketch, and let me tell you, this warm-up sketch did not go well. I wasn't using a reference, which is a huge mistake, and I gotta tell you guys, use a reference, okay? It really helps you. And I was just sort of thinking, well, I can do this. I've drawn Disney animals before. No, I could not. So this is chili, or rather, meant to be chili. It's not at all. Don't worry about that. This is what you should always do. You should always have a warm-up sketch. You should always do some thumbnails. I didn't do thumbnails for this one. I had an image in my head, tried to recreate it, failed. And with these warm-up sketches, it's important to just play around with the anatomy, and that's why I wasn't happy with this. I wasn't happy with the anatomy of the dogs. I was happy with like the general pose. I wasn't happy with the anatomy. And you can see here, I'm not gonna draw baby animals. They're small, except I didn't know how small. So anyway, this is a better sketch, and this is Bingo. You might be wondering why Bingo has a floppy ear. That's because little puppies, if they're a breed that has very straight ears, generally don't develop those until later on in their life. So Bingo has a floppy ear, and she has some scruff on the top of her head because she's still a puppy. They're very fluffy things. I don't draw eyelashes because I don't want to, quite frankly. Like the excessive, like you don't need eyelashes to say that they're female. You don't need what some people said excessive, like femininity or whatever. You don't need it. It's a dog. You can't tell a dog's gender from first glance. But anyway, puppies generally have very sort of socky legs and stocky bodies, and that's what I try to convey here. They're also quite fluffy. So this was done using a reference, very heavily referenced, because I didn't want to mess up. And although I had the actual characters in front of me for this, as you can see, I did not want to use the actual colours from the show. I wanted to use ones that were based upon those, not exactly those. And that's because I wanted this to be a Disney style. Disney generally tend to be exaggerated colours, but still sort of realistic. Look at Lady, for example. You know she's a Cocker Spaniel. But Tramp, he's a grey Schnauzer mix, which are in real life. So that's what I tried to do here. Um, with the markings and what I didn't stick to, I actually made like some of the shadows and some of the markings a bit more fluffy, like fur texture, or tried to add a fur texture in. And that's just me. I just wanted to do that. But I only added that texture where the fur would be longer. Because again, generally with this type of breed, not that I know, I'm not an expert. But generally, with fluffy dog breeds, the fluff isn't on their forelegs or their back legs, it's on the back, sides, stomach, chest, tail, etc. So you can see here, I'm just going around adjusting the markings a bit. And this is where I stuck close to the character design, because I used the same markings. I just adapted it to look more natural. I gave all of them this sort of amber eye color, just because Disney animals generally do have an eye color, and I could not think for the life of me of a creative one. Anyway, Bluey now. She's older. Her ears have started to stick up. One of them is still a little bit floppy. That's fine. She's still young. She's got fuzz, more fuzz than Bingo. Uh, but I also made sure to still keep that sort of hint of a triangle shape that female dogs would generally have, or female animals would generally have. You can see here I don't stick directly to the guideline, and that's fine. You don't have to. What I did do with Bluey, with her specifically, I gave her that more sort of in your face, excited look because that's what Bluey is like. Also, she's a tomboy. So, what's wrong with sort of making it not ambiguous, but sort of making her more fluffy and sort of rough looking? There's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, carrying on, what I did here, I did make sure to try and stick to the stockiness of the dogs. Again, use references, use real life references. That's what I did. I had photos of healers, and I used them in order to base my sketch around. Um, Again, color wise, I am not directly copying the character, like the proper animation character, because it doesn't look realistic enough. I wasn't happy with that bright blue, so I went for a more muted greyish blue. Okay, now again with the markings, I tried to be more realistic, and I added that fur texture in, which is harder than you'd think, because I wanted to do it everywhere. And this is me just blocking in the colours, making sure that they look similar enough to the actual original show. With the lighter parts then, you can see that, again, I'm just copying what I see, except I'm adapting to fit a real life dog. Not a real life dog, you know what I mean. Again, you've got to exaggerate that. So with Bluey's muzzle there, you know she's got that cream colour as well as the light blue, like Bandit. This is the old one. And this is what it turned into. Hope you like it, guys. Happy New Year.